Web apps versus mobile apps. What are the differences and what does it take to build, deploy, and monetize apps in 2025? If you've been in this vibe coding space, AI assisted coding space, then you know that we have a bunch of platforms like Lovable, Bolt.new, Cursor, Windsurf, Rork, Replit, Vibe Code app, Base 44. The list goes on and on. Hey Gen, Hey Boss, and similar platforms that help and support in you building different kinds of apps. And depending on the platform, you can build web apps, or you can build web apps, or you can build mobile apps, or both. And although it has become way more feasible and a lot easier to do so, there are still hurdles in order to go from zero to MVP and actually get that platform that you built ready for production. In this video, I want to talk about specifically some of the differences between what it takes to get a web app fully to an MVP versus a mobile app. And so I actually want to start by pulling up an app that I've been working on called DropCard. So DropCard, which I will talk more about in future videos, is a contact management app, basically a business card app where you can exchange contact information with people at networking events. You can scan people's business cards. They can scan your QR code. You can create different cards for yourself. And it also has additional features like an AI chat and an ability to take selfies so that you remember who you meet at events. So it's catered to if you're going to a conference or if you're going to a network, any type of networking event, an easy way of remembering who you met and managing those contacts. Now, what it took to get this completed versus what it takes to get a site or a web app completed looks different. And that is what I want to talk about. So when it comes to a web app, it's significantly more straightforward to get that done. So I have an example here, something I built called DeepTrends. Basically, you put in your research query. It uses Perplexity API to go and get information from the web. And then it can run these queries periodically, depending on what you choose. And then on the back end, it does a content automation. And so this is a web app that I put together versus this mobile app that we're discussing right now. So in the case of the web app, it's literally a matter of pulling up one of these AI assisted platforms like Cursor or like Lovable and getting straight to it. There's a process around how you flesh out the idea, what prompts to use to actually begin building, what the design looks like. And these are also things that we can and will get into in future videos. But once you have the prompts that you need or clarity on what you're building, you can literally just go straight to building that thing. And then once done, these platforms like Lovable, for example, makes it super easy for you where you can connect it directly to the back end. You can save it on GitHub. So you have your work saved. In the case of Cursor, you have to do a little bit more on your end where you have to connect it to the database yourself or actually deploy it as a site with a domain using something like Vercel as a good example to deploy the app the way you would a regular website. But that's about it. Once you've done those tasks, you can make it go live. There is no real approval process. In fact, there is no approval process. But if you wanted to take it further, if it was something that you're putting for sale, or if it's even going beyond that, if it's a subscription as a service, software as a service, then you can add a paywall to it. Something like a Lemon Squeezy can work for it, where you would connect Lemon Squeezy to your payment processor like Stripe, and then this Lemon Squeezy software would handle the subscriptions for the users you have on that web app. Now that's as far as it goes with web apps. Now with mobile apps, it's a little bit more intricate in that there are other components involved. Are you building for Apple or are you building for Android? Is there also going to be a web app component to it? And so these are other parts that you have to take into consideration. Something that is very helpful for mobile apps is a platform called Expo. Expo is a way of being able to build with a framework called React Native, which is a way of building using JavaScript, such that you can actually build an app that is can be deployed as an iOS app, but also deployed as an Android app and deployed as a web app. So with this one framework, you can get it ready for multiple different kinds of platforms. And it's become very popular today with more people building mobile apps. If you use similar to Lovable, Rork.com, you can build a mobile app in the very same way that you build a web app with Lovable. However, Rork uses this React Native framework. They have it embedded into their platform so that you can build using Expo, and then as a result, using React Native. Now, the hurdle with mobile apps, and if you were to build with, again, this Expo framework, this a React Native framework using the Expo platform, if you're, let's say, using Cursor, you can literally download Expo into Cursor. You can install it into Cursor and then connect Cursor directly to Expo the same way Rork natively has its platform connected to Expo. Now, the primary difference between mobile apps and web apps is the approval process. You have to get your mobile apps approved by the app store that it's going to be deployed on. And so in the case of iOS and Apple, you have to set up an Apple developer account. And that Apple developer account, you can then deploy the app to something called TestFlight. TestFlight is a way of being able to beta test your mobile app. And you can alpha test it with a very small group, which typically would be your internal team. And then you can beta test it, which would still be in a testing phase, but with usually a wider group of people. And so you have to get it approved for TestFlight, a beta TestFlight. And then when you want to launch it officially on the App Store, you also have to get it approved then. And typically it's expected that you're going to get rejected a couple of times before you actually get the app approved. Apple is very stringent with its requirements around launching apps. They need on your website terms of services, privacy policy. Well, first of all, a website that's attached to the mobile app, and then the terms of services and privacy policy. The pages or the screens on the app can't take too long to load. It needs to be like unique kind of code. And in an AI age where so much is being built using AI, Apple is even more stringent than they were previously. And this is something that they don't talk about and that very few people are talking about, which is actually deploying apps on the App Store. And so you see many apps that are going to this beta test flight, but few that are actually getting approved. And so on the Apple side, it's a little bit different than the Android side. The Google Play Store, for example, is much, much easier to get approved. However, here in the US, we see a lot of people with iPhones. And so that's usually the preferred route or the primary route, even though globally, there are more people that use Android. And so that aspect, the approval process, is something that not enough people think about when it comes to mobile apps. And then similar to this Lemon Squeezy for web apps, with mobile apps, you have platforms like Superwall, which you can use in the case of if your mobile app has a payment attached to it and it's a subscription, you can handle those aspects using something like Superwall. And there's a process to go through in order to integrate this properly. Something to also mention with mobile apps is that when you're testing it, so in the case of the web apps, you can simply test it locally on your computer, something called a local host. Whereas with the mobile apps, you can use localhost as well, but you have simulators, whether it's an iOS simulator, the Android simulator, maybe you're using Expo and you're testing it with Expo directly, and Expo has a mobile app that you can use to test your mobile app natively on the mobile platform. And then what I've started doing personally is I actually connect my Cursor account to an Xcode is the development environment for building iPhone apps. And what I do is I connect Cursor to Xcode, and then Xcode by that also running and spinning up the simulation on Xcode, or downloading the build through Xcode. It allows me to test the app natively on my mobile app while I'm going along, so I don't have to constantly update it on the Apple developers platform before just testing the app. And so there are different aspects to this, and it's just important to keep in mind when you're deciding if you want to build a web app or a mobile app. And I bring these things up because it is a different process, and it is significantly more straightforward to get a web app out into production. Now, there are certain strategies that I've seen different builders do and different companies do as well. So what I've seen people do is, rather than actually getting a mobile app approved on the App Store, they'll actually just take it to beta, start testing it, getting it out to users, and then they'll actually, if it's a paid product, attach the paywall through a payment processor like Stripe directly, and then have people pay through Stripe directly to them, not use something like a Superwall, and then that's a way of being able to get it out sooner while you're still refining it and getting it ready for the official launch. But in the case where you're gonna have different sorts of upsells and pay and in-app purchases or paywall, then you will likely have to get it ready for that official launch before you can really put it out there the way you want. And so I wanted to share this information because over the past 2 years, I've built numerous web apps and mobile apps that I've taken live. This app here, DropCard, that I will talk more about, is the first that I am taking to market and monetizing. But I've learned so much about just the differences between the two, and honestly, some of the stumbling blocks are in terms of just getting the products ready, and also what people deal with that isn't really talked about much. And I think the biggest thing is getting that App Store approval. And so let me know if you want me to talk more. First of all, let me know how you like this sort of style of video where I'm kind of just talking more versus demonstrating. I'm doing tutorials, but I will be doing many more videos on specifics around MVPs and fleshing out ideas and going from that zero to deployment and then to marketing your idea. And so that's what I have for you today, and I will see you all next time.